Okay, so Andy, talking about you making 300 appearances for Mossley, so if we go back to the beginning, made your debut 17th of August 2013, so quite a while ago, against Kendal Town. It was a 3-1 defeat, and you actually scored the only goal of the game in that. Do you remember the game itself?
I do, yeah. Kendal Town here. Tough opposition at the time, Kendal relegated now, but they had a really good team. We took the lead. Big header for myself. Mark Haslam assist as he let me know on Twitter last night. And it was all going fine then. I just remember him turning it on a little bit and we was a bit out of our depth that day. But it was always nice to get a goal.
What was it like coming over, there was some good players in the team back then as well, being a sort of a younger player back then. What was it like being in the dressing room, being a player for Mossley at that time?
It was strange because we kind of, I first got asked to sign for Mossley in a Portuguese airport by Mr. Band. Weird coming together. But a couple of weeks later, Lloyd Bandy kind of took over as joint management, and we had two teams that came together. The team that had kind of got to the playoffs, and then a Winsford team that had done really well the league below. But we come together, and there was a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of integration that needed to be done, and it was a hard start, to be honest with you. But we had some good players in the team. We had some good young players as well, and it ended up working well that season. But it was just a strange coming together. It all started two teams, Mossley Winsford. The lads who be listening will know what I'm talking about.
And going back to them earlier days, the first few seasons that you were here, what memories sort of stick out for you as a player back then, as a younger player?
Oh, as a younger side under Lloyd and Bandy, we always had like a never say die attitude. We had mad games there. Ramsbottom would be in 4-3 last minute. Brighouse, I think it was, or Rossett or something like that. We was never beaten in that team. Don't get me wrong, we got beat by far better sides, but we was a team that always had people on the edge of the seats, and we always give the fans who were here at the time. They weren't many at the time. We always give them value for money.
And you've left the club a couple of times and come back. What's made you come back? What's been the draw to come back to the club?
I've always felt happier. I've left twice for different reasons. Don't think Lloyd and Bandy ever forgive me for the second time. But I went for my own reasons. But I always come back because when I play here, I always enjoy myself. Got good people at the club. There's a real good atmosphere here, and they let you play football. There is pressure put on you, but it's not a pressure that's kind of like will kick you out the door. It's always been a good club, especially for me anyway. That's why I've stayed around so long.
And this last period's lasted, I think, 5-6 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And you've been through the mill in that 5 or 6 years as well. I think you came back just before Bandy and Lloyd left.
Yeah.
Went through the Terry Hinks, Dave Wild era,
Yeah.
and then ended up covering it as a manager for a while as well. What was that period like, and what was it like being in the dugout as well as on the pitch?
To be honest, the squad that we had that season when I took over and Wildy's left, they had a really good older heads in the team. Guys G, Mark Lees, Ben Halfaker, Steve Mason, like lads who kind of there was no issue with me talking to them as a captain, but then as a manager. But there was no issue. They understood. Brookie as well was in there. He's asked them all, and there was a really good group. So that's why I think we kind of did well, because maybe the new face, bit of pressure off the lads, and we had a few results. Just a bit gutted that COVID ended it really.
It got a season that season without winning. I think it had been a calendar year without winning away from home, and then your first game you went to Dunstan, drew 1-1 away at Dunstan, was it?
1-1, yeah.
And then you went and won at Clitheroe as well. It's got to be a good achievement for you, considering.
Yeah, it was. It was nice, but I'd put it down to the players. It was nothing that I was doing. It was more the team just coming together, pulling together. It was tough circumstances, and I think in the main the lads enjoyed it as well. We had a good team spirit, that team. It was just a shame what happened with COVID and tailing off the season.
So you enjoyed your period as a manager. Obviously, you're coming towards the back end of your playing career at some point. You never know.
I suppose.
You see yourself going back into the dugout in the future, or do you think you'll take some time away from the game?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the management side of things. I enjoyed the little issues, but at the time I was more focused on playing football and enjoying the last couple of years playing football. But definitely in the future, it's something that I look at. I think you have to do all the coaching courses and all that, and I'd really need to prepare myself. If I was going to do it, I wouldn't do it half-heartedly and make sure it was all sorted before I chance my hand at it again.
You said before, there weren't many of us here. You know, the crowds weren't massive when you first started, and things were really different when you were first here as a player. What's it been like going through that change, and especially the last 5 years, sort of being a constant through that change?
I think off the pitch, definitely, there's loads of different people now are involved, and there's a lot of hard work that's going on behind the scenes. Not that they weren't back then, but it seems like there's a lot more for the community, for the club, for the ladies' teams, for the kids' teams. It seems like it's just a big ripple effect that's going through the community here, and you're getting more people in, and it's showing in the stands. On the pitch, we've always kind of had the same kind of attitude as a team whenever I've been in these dressing rooms. Is people don't really like going up to Mossley and playing against Mossley up on this hill, but we've always had a really good team spirit, and we've got a really good team spirit this year, and hopefully if we can get a bit of a run going, show some improvements.
Going on to sort of this year and the last couple of years, mainly under David, Lee and Alex, what's that been like? What have you, as an older player, how has it felt for you having to be, because this year's probably slightly different where you've got a couple of older players in there, but I think last year you were the only older player in the team full of kids. How was that? What's it like?
Oh, it was tough. It was a nightmare. I'm getting hammered every single week in the dressing room, training, just getting the mitts took out of me. But it's I think Fishy on the pitch has brought just stability to the dressing room. Not necessarily meaning that he's not putting pressure on lads, but you can see how we're doing on the pitch. Last season we started off really well, kind of tailed off a bit near Christmas, a few injuries and stuff like that. And we've started off well again this season. We've been a bit more inconsistent, but he's bringing in a lot of good young lads who seem to want it, and they're quite local as well. And adding like the other young lads like Shane Gillick and Nicky Clay, you know, just extra legs in the team. It's exactly what we needed. No, but I needed them older players to come in because it was killing me, and they made a massive difference.
What's it like having someone like Nicky Clay in the dressing room who's older than you? Does that give you? Do you think you could still do it up to that age? Do you think you still got it in you?
Absolutely no chance. The man's a freak. Scored that goal last week. I couldn't believe he even took it on, but Nicky's got that in his locker, and you can just tell he's a fit lad, and he could do a couple more years, no problem, but I don't think you'll see me doing anything like that for no chance.
So do you think it's sunk in how big an achievement it is, bearing in mind you're only the third person to hit 300 games since the glory days of the 70s and 80s?
Not really, no. To me, it's just another match. It's another football match. Hopefully we'll win. We lost against Skelmersdale on the 300 appearance. To me, that was more disheartening than thinking about any 300 appearances. But it's good to see. It's good to see people hanging around clubs. To see Fishy do it a few years ago, and he enjoyed it. It was a proud moment for him. So in that respect, I do see it. But if we're not winning games, it's terrible. It ruins the weekend.
Your 300 was better than your 200 though, if you remember that one.
I don't want to know what my 100th appearance was. It would have been some kind of nightmare situation.
Okay, so just to go back through sort of best memories at the club, what's been your highlight, the games that you stick out, not necessarily one, but a few that stick out for you over the years?
Do you know what stick out? The ones where we've been down, and like I say, there's the last minute winners and Radcliffe, and there's a couple of others, and then the Manchester Cup wins as well. Like it gets a bit nose turned up at Manchester Cup, but you look at the teams this year and the last couple of years really going for it. Radcliffe put out a really strong side against us. They really wanted it, and we beat obviously Curzon and Staley Bridge, really good teams at the time. They're probably the standout ones because we've always just, since I've been, we've just missed out on the playoffs, maybe finished 7th, 8th, and it's been a bit disheartening. Hopefully it's something that we can change this season and put that right, but we always seem to have a bit of a never say die attitude up here, and last minute winners, fans love it, don't they?
Yeah. FA Cup runs, do you remember any of them that have been stood out for you? What FA Cup games?
Do you know what? The FA Cup games, I'm thinking about like Ossett penalty shootout Tuesday night, which was a belter, but for some reason I've missed a few FA when we've gone through to that it's a couple of rounds in.
It's normally holiday time,
injury or something like that. Or I've got some kind of holiday, but yeah, the FA Cup one I wouldn't can't really say too much on.
So favourite goals that stand out for you for the club?
There's been plenty of near post headers. That's my thing that I really enjoyed on ones. There was a Rabona against a 2-yard Rabona, what no one even acknowledges. Wiz never put it in the report, God rest his soul. But I'm sure Godwin Abadaki could vouch for it. It was a Rabona. And then there was one here, I think, against Widnes, which was about 25 yards out and it in top corners. It was a nice goal. It doesn't happen too often. I think people are very shocked by that.
Top 5 players that you've played with in terms of not in terms of just ability, but the ones that you've just enjoyed playing with the most.
Top 5 players.
You're going to upset some people.
That's a tough question. Now, I'm going to have to go. Mike Fish, definitely, absolute goal scorer, goal machine. Don't think he ever got as much credit in this league as for how good he was. Aaron Evingham, good pal of mine, who I really enjoyed the Wimenshaw Car School there, but I don't think anybody in Wimenshaw plays football anymore. I've been trying to get everybody down. Other players. Goddard, always enjoyed playing with Goddard, another lad from Wimenshaw, with Abadaki. Deck Evans, funny, absolute most laid back lad I think I've ever been in a dressing room with, but skill, quality, just had to pick him up for 2-3 years and it stores with petrol money. Lastly, I don't know, there's so many names. There used to be a lad up here actually, from Wimenshaw, Dougie Carroll, he burst on the scene, he'll love it, Mika Richards. But he used to play up front, and I think he scored about 20 goals first season as like an 18, 19-year-old, but a couple of injuries and other stuff just stopped him playing. He was always enjoyable to be playing up front with, so yeah, I'll go with him 5.
Just touching on that as well, you've played with players now, and most people know some of the bigger players who've gone on and done good things, but how proud are you to see players like Deck Evans move up, Devon from last year, and there's a couple in the team now, more than a couple in the team now, who could definitely go on and take that step. Is it good feeling playing alongside them players and seeing them go and take the next step higher up?
I've just realised, did I miss Ben Richardson? Devastating. Again, it's always him. Benji as well, yeah. He's a lad of field. But seeing lads move on, yeah, fantastic. And I can look around the dressing room now. There's 6 or 7 of them who can follow Devon, Deck from last season and in the past, Pratty. Who else has moved on and done really well for themselves? I remember Richard Bennett when he was there, striker. There's a few, and with the young lads, I don't think they realise these small gaps. You know, small. If they do actually put it in, they'll reap the rewards, and they'll be there in no time.
And then we said you've been, well, I got corrected at the awards night last year where you played. I said you played every position apart from goalkeeper, but you have played goalkeeper in your time as well. Just a proper club man. Where you playing up front at the moment? You've played in midfield as well, and obviously you've deputised everywhere else. Where do you love playing the most?
I just love playing midfield. My legs won't allow it anymore, but I used to just being in the middle of the pitch, just getting about. Strikers, you see, I'll have a go at it, but that's not where I'm happiest. And I did a stint at centre half. I'm sure that everybody reminds me in the second week about that. But no, happiest, favourite position, centre midfield.
You're doing all right up front, scoring lots of goals, top scorer last season.
Yeah, so, nicking a few.
Yeah.
It's just that if you're not scoring, the lads are hammering you. Get hold of it, do this, do that. It's dog's life as a striker.
How far do you think we can go this season? Just onto this season now. So you said before we've got a good team. In terms of you've managed to keep a lot of players. David's kept a lot of the players this year. Added some quality in there as well. How good are they in terms of as a team as well as individuals? And where can we go this year?
Oh, very good. I think the aspiration should always be to push on him. I don't know. I've not looked at the table for a couple of weeks, but I believe we're in and around the top 5 or 6. So for me, that's where we want to be staying till the end of the season. I think Dave and Alex and Scott all want that. I think we should want that in the dressing room, and we're having these little slip-ups, but it's there for us. When we play against the teams who are in and around us, we seem to do really well. It's the other games where we maybe take our eye off the ball, but I know that's what I want. I'd love nothing more than to be at the end of the season, having us celebrating something. And I think our lads do, but like I say, just find that consistency and really push it on in a big period now.
Do you think it's a sign of how hard the league is? Is it probably the toughest league you've played in? Looking at the teams about you, and it is a case of you turn up to a game, and if you're not ready, you'll get beat.
Oh yeah, definitely top to bottom, definitely, because this league's always been one where you'll have a Macclesfield and another team where they kind of run away from it, and I don't think it's like that now. I think from 2nd to 14th, if anyone goes on a little run, I think Bootle might have done it last season where he snuck into the playoffs and he had a really good run from 15th and ended up 5th, and it's that close, and teams just taking points off each other all over the place. So we need to get a bit of consistency, and then let's see. It's definitely achievable.
And then last question, really, how long do you think you've got left, or is it just a question of end of every season, just seeing how you've got on, how the injuries affected you through the year, and take it from there?
Oh yes, end of season. I had a chat with Dave. I had a chat last season, and then open and honest, Dave's a sound guy as well, and I just said to him, I said, if you don't want me back, don't worry about it. I'm happy. And he went the other way. He said, no, definitely want you back and get me here for another season. But no, we'll have that chat, because I don't want to be hanging around if I'm not contributing. I'm not the kind of person who'll hang about. I'll get myself out of the way and let somebody else take their chance. So no, yeah, reevaluating the summer.
So 300 appearances. It's a few people banded the word around this week about being a club legend. You've been to a few games where we've got the likes of Jimmy O'Connor and Leo Skeet turning up and watching the games, and all the old boys come up. Is that going to be you in 30 years, coming down to games, watching, getting up clapped onto the pitch?
Oh, them boys went to Wembley. Them boys were doing real things. They were not winning headers and stuff like me, being a bit of a dog up front. But no, it's great. It's great that they still come down to the club and still invited, and you have that connection still with them. Because I know when they come down, you have a bit of a chat with them. They love it. They absolutely love it, and they miss coming here and watching when they're watching the game. They miss playing, and I'll be the same. As soon as I finish, I'll come down to a game here, and I'll miss near post flick-ons and shouting at somebody if they're not doing my running. But to remember him by, well, that's for you to ask other people. I can't answer that question.
Thanks, Andy, and congratulations on 300 games.
Nice one, mate.